to SportsHeads. Now, I'm Kevin Cadle, and I'm at the Shard in London, England, a fabulous building, a fabulous place. Now, today we'll be talking about the NFL, and especially looking into the AFC South, but also the other things that are going on in the National Football League right now. And one of the things going on in the National Football League is that it's the preseason. And the preseason is a tough time for a lot of different players. Some guys will make it and some won't. But you know what? I have a guy who's been through the preseason wars with the Philadelphia Eagles, the Oakland Raiders, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, none other than Cecil Martin. And he can give us his point of view on the preseason as far as the importance for coaches and for the players.
Hey, check it out, everyone. I just want to give you a little perspective on what preseason really means. For the players, it means an opportunity to make the team, because most of the guys on the team, aside from all the superstar names you know, most of the guys are competing for an opportunity to work in doing the job that they have dreamed to do their entire life. Sean Landetta, a punter for the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles, I asked him one time, what's the best part of being in the NFL? He said, the best part is every year when I know I've made the team. It's all about making the team, but it's also a lot for veteran guys. Who are the dogs that's going to be here with me during the season? Who's going to get out there and grind it out? Who worked hard in the offseason? Who came in here ready to go because I want a Super Bowl ring? So it's both of those. And from a coach's perspective, it's about getting your scheme down. See, you've been looking at what you have, what kind of talent you got, what are your pros, what are your cons, and how are you going to come into the season to give yourself the most advantage in making it to the playoffs, winning as many games as possible, and hopefully getting to the Super Bowl. So they want to know if their scheme works. Number two, they want to know who their road dogs are. Who are the guys that they can count on? See, they're not just walking in there thinking, oh, I want to cut this guy and I want this guy. It's not a beauty contest. For these coaches, they need to know who is going to sacrifice in the right way, who's going to fit within the culture of that particular team, and who worked out in the offseason. See, it goes back to the offseason as well, because you can tell. And so the coaches are looking at their scheme and they're looking at who they can count on. And so the preseason is huge.
Yeah, Cecil, that's lovely there about the preseason on the players and the coaches. But you talk about coaches, they got to make some decisions, you know, as far as personnel goes. You got a team like the Miami Dolphins. Ryan Tannehill goes down. Now Adam Gase, you're looking around, who is he going to bring in as a quarterback? Who is he going to do? Is he going to stay with Matt Moore, or is he going to try something else? And what he does is he goes back to his old team, Chicago, and brings back Jay Cutler. Is Jay Cutler the answer in Miami for the Miami Dolphins? And I'm going to say, Cecil, that's your boy, Jay Cutler.
You know, the big question is, can he do better now that he's, you know, with a guy like Coach Adam Gase? Well, man, how many lives does Jay Cutler have? Let's just address that for a second. All right. Now, I'm not saying the man can't play, because we know that he can play. But at the same time, you know, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And Adam Gase beholds, there's a lot of beauty still in that man, Jay Cutler. So all I'm going to say is I'm an eternal optimist. I think he's got some arm and some game still with him. So let's see what happens this preseason and see how he's kind of regrouped. Because sometimes you just need a new place to go. You need a new venue and a new scheme and some more faith in you and your ability. Now, I know a lot of you out there probably listening to this saying, "Cecil, what are you talking about, man?" Especially you Bears fans who have been tormented for a lot of years. But this is still a professional athlete trying to live his dream, trying to play to the best of his ability. Let's give him a shot. You Miami Dolphin fans, on the other hand, well, I know you're kind of scratching your head, but you're hoping for the best. So all I'm going to tell you is, I hope for the best.
I hear you on that one, Cecil. But also, one of the things that continues to go on in the National Football League, we have the saga with Colin Kaepernick. Is he going to end up on the National Football League team? One of the things that just stands out for me right now is only a few weeks left in the preseason. If he does get a job, he's going to be on the bench for the entire season, because the team will have to be in dire straits for him to come in and to step in as a starting quarterback for a team in the National Football League. So you just kind of wonder what is going to happen with him for the year. Really unfair. I definitely am one in the camp of that it's unfair that he hasn't had a job. But you have other guys who are joining into the fray, and a lot of different things happening with the guys as far as the national anthem goes in games being played in the NFL.
Michael Bennett, did you see this? And Marshawn Beast Mode Lynch was sitting during the national anthem. Now, this guy named James Harrison said he bet not see anybody on his team sitting during the national anthem. Now, all I can say is this, everybody. Have you seen that man, James Harrison? If you're on his team, you might not want to be sitting during the national anthem. But let me just stop joking and just say this. James Harrison has just as much a right of voicing his feeling about sitting during the national anthem as anyone sitting during the national anthem trying to express themselves and trying to bring awareness to a certain cause or a certain situation. So, it's all good. James Harrison, I'm glad he said what he said. He was just voicing his opinion. But let's keep it real. If you look at that man and you realize it might not be a good idea for you to sit, you will probably stand and put your hand on your heart and pay homage to that flag. Because we are American, baby. And I know we got a lot of Brits looking, but I got a lot of pride over here. But I got a lot of pride over there too. So Sports Head, that's just Cecil talking, having some fun. I will be back.
Yes, Cecil, James Harrison is a big fella. You talk about a big fella though. What about that running back for the Dallas Cowboys, Ezekiel Elliott, right now facing a 6-game suspension? Will contest it. Maybe they might drop it down to 4. They might leave it at 6 games. But, you know, forgetting him as a football player, one of the things you look at is how is this going to affect him mentally and his life and lifestyle? Because this is a guy that probably from the age of 10, 12 years old, he's been the star football player. Each and every team that he's been on, he's been the guy. He's been the focus, the vocal point of his team on whatever division, whatever level of football that he played on, from being a youngster to Ohio State and now with the Dallas Cowboys. And you wonder, with him, I know his college coach, Myers, has talked about that he's kind of worried about him being away because, again, he's suffering that 4 to 6 game suspension. You are not allowed to have any contact with the team whatsoever, mentally or physical contact with the team. So that's a big drop off for a guy who's used to being around the fellas. And when people retire, one of the things they always talk about, the one thing that they miss is that camaraderie with their teammates. He's not retiring. He's only a second-year player, but this is going to be a big time for him, how he handles being away from his teammates, the Dallas Cowboys, for the 4 to 6 weeks periods that he is not allowed to have any contact with the club. Yeah, it's time to deal with the AFC South. When you look at the AFC South, this is a division that alone one team, that is the Houston Texans, that were able to get into the playoffs last season with a 9-7 record. Tennessee also with a 9-7 record, but they lost the tiebreaker out to the Texans. Marcus Mariota missed a couple games, and that really was a damaging blow for them. Could have been a different season for them if he would have been out there playing. Indianapolis at 8-8, and we see that the Andrew Luck also missed some action for the Colts. The Jacksonville Jags. The Jacksonville Jags are the most consistent team in the league. Bottom feeders again. We see that mark at 3-13 for the Jacksonville Jags. But we're going to take a trip. We're not going to travel south. We're going to travel on the eastern seaboard to New York. We're going to meet up here with Harrison Singer, who's a Verge sports journalist, and he wants to talk about the AFC South, and some of his views are kind of interesting to say.
What's up, guys? Harrison here, live from my college dorm room, here to talk AFC South on today's episode. So let's get right to it. I'll start with my predictions. Houston Texans take this division slightly over the next team. If you're Houston, you're bringing back the #1 ranked defense, and you had that defense, this is in terms of yards at least, you had that defense without J.J. Watt healthy. You had, in my opinion, the best player in all of football to that previously #1 ranked defense, and it's going to be funny just watching teams try to move the ball against that defense. I don't care who's playing quarterback for Houston, whether it's Deshaun Watson or Tom Savage. They're going to have Lamar Miller in the backfield. They're going to be, whoever it is going to be throwing to DeAndre Hopkins. Hopefully, the second-year wide receiver out of Notre Dame, Will Fuller, gets healthy. It's a very talented team, and one that I do, frankly, expect to take the AFC South. In second, I see the Tennessee Titans coming in. This team could take a wild card spot if they don't win this division. I expect them. We're splitting hairs here about this division winner, because I see Tennessee taking the AFC South just as much as I see Houston taking it. I think Marcus Mariota plays at an MVP level this season and leads Tennessee to a very competitive season. DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry can really form a good force in a backfield for any team, and Tennessee's lucky to have those two guys. They added a lot of good wide receiver, what should be good wide receiver, good targets for Marcus Mariota and John Ross in the first round, and Eric Decker, who was released by the Jets, who is a very sure-handed target for Mariota as well. That those two guys come in and are going to be paired up with Rashard Lewis, and Delaney Walker's also there. It's a young defense as well, which continues to improve. In third place, I'm not betting against Andrew Luck. The only reason why I have Indianapolis down this far is because it does not seem that Andrew Luck is fully healthy. And if he's not fully healthy, this team's not going too far. There's not much. There never really has been too much around Andrew Luck. T.Y. Hilton is a good receiver, a good speedster who can catch the ball downfield. But other than that, Dante Moncrief, a good red zone target. But Andrew Luck needs more help. This team just doesn't really have the talent to compete with these up-and-coming teams that have successfully, really successfully now rebuilt in Tennessee and Houston. Bringing up the rear, I see the Jacksonville Jaguars finishing in fourth place, but I do see a vast improvement from last season. Blake Bortles apparently was playing with a separated shoulder last year. If that's the case, it might be fair to exempt him from such a rough season. After all, just 2 years ago, he was second in the NFL in touchdown passes. I still have not completely hopped off the Blake Bortles bandwagon. I know coming out of UCF, he was a highly touted prospect, third overall pick, first quarterback taken in that draft class. I still believe in Bortles. I'm a Bortles believer, but Jacksonville still brings up the rear this year in the AFC South. So that's it for my predictions in that division. Thank you for having me on the show, guys. I love what you guys do. Until next time, Harrison Singer signing off.
Harrison, man, I love you, but come on. Now, you're going to tell me the Houston Texans, no matter who's quarterbacking, are going to beat the New England Patriots, who have maybe the best quarterback in the history of the National Football League. I love you, baby, but I just can't roll with you. Let's look at what the Houston Texans are dealing with. You have those two quarterbacks that you named, Deshaun Watson, Tom Savage. They have combined for 5, let's maybe say this again, 5 NFL starts in their careers. And they're going up against Tom Brady. Harrison, you my man. But let's stay with the quarterback situation and the woes that we have down south. Tennessee, Marcus Mariota, just coming off a broken leg that he sustained last year just at the end of the season. But for him, in the 2 years that he's been in the National Football League, he's missed 5 games already and has had to sit out others. Indianapolis coach, Andrew Luck, torn labrum. He's missed 10 games in the last 2 seasons. That's almost a third of the games that the Indianapolis Colts have played so far in those last 2 years. And then Blake Bortles, just recently, they've talked about that his job is now in jeopardy as a starting quarterback. He is truly on the hot seat with the new head coach. And when you get a new head coach, sometimes they go, I need to go with my guy. And right now, Blake Bortles is not the guy in that coaching position for Doug Marrone, who's taken over as the man in the Jacksonville Jags organization. Well, as they say, the best friend for a quarterback is to have that quality running back. And when you talk about a team like the Tennessee Titans, they do have a quality running back in DeMarco Murray. Here's a guy with 1,287 yards, who's third in the NFL in running the football. So that quarterback, that young quarterback, that third-year QB, Marcus Mariota, does have somebody that he can depend on. Also, remember, Murray is pretty decent. He can catch the ball out the backfield as well. For the Houston Texans, Lamar Miller, number 10 in the National Football League in rushing last season with just over 1,000 yards, 1,073 yards. A decent running back for the Houston Texans, but I don't know if he's the guy that's going to take you to the next level or not. Frank Gore, we know Frank Gore is getting kind of long in the tooth, and it's the first time that Andrew Luck has had somebody back there with him to that he can somewhat depend on from that running back position. But again, we talk about Gore, getting kind of up there in age, but with his 4 TDs, he was number 12th in the National Football League in rushing last season. But look way down at number 39, the Jacksonville Jags. You can talk about Blake Bortles all you want, but look at Blake Bortles, who he had to hand the ball off to. TJ Yeldon, 465 rushing yards, 39th in the National Football League. And you have a young quarterback, and the quarterback trying to find his footing. He needs much more help than that, and maybe he'll get it this year from rookie running back Leonard Fournette, who's coming in from LSU, big body, strong, physical, likes to make contact. He said a couple crazy things earlier, in the preseason about that. He's surprised that the National Football League is not as fast as he thought it would be, but I think he'll learn, and not as tough as it is, but I think he'll learn, and one thing he will learn is to keep his gob shut and just go out there and play football. But so important that you have that running back position if you're going to be successful. And right now, you look at the Jacksonville Jags, that is going to be a number one step for them that they are going to have to take up if they're going to compete for a division title in the AFC South. Yeah, Harrison, you were right on point about the Houston Texans and their defense and that guy, J.J. Watt, who is back, hopefully a lot healthier than he was last year. Only had a chance to play 3 games last season, and they still were number 1 in total yards allowed in the National Football League. Now, as you look at their numbers, but let's look at some of the other numbers in the AFC South. The Tennessee Titans give up almost 24 points a game, 358 yards. I don't know if those numbers are good enough to make you a playoff team and to make you a team that can really become a contender. The Indianapolis Colts, there's no way. You're giving up 25 points a game, 383 yards. That's only 2 teams in the National Football League who gave up more than the Indianapolis Colts did. And the Jacksonville Jags, they have so much work to do. They were 25th in amount of points that they gave up. The yardage, only 322, so they were number 6. But a lot of that could be contributed to turnovers, putting teams with short fields. You got short fields, you don't have a whole lot of yards that you have to make up. But the one thing about it is that if you're going to advance, and which Harrison, you definitely hit it on the head, if you are going to advance, it's definitely going to have to be from the defensive side of the ball. And right now, the Houston Texans, they can only get better with the addition of J.J. Watt to their team. In Trash Talk today, I cannot believe that you would spend $100 million on a quarterback, but you don't supply him with the blockers, as they're doing in Indianapolis with Andrew Luck. Now, the Dallas Cowboys tried that with Tony Romo, and we see what happened to him and his body. He's all broken up. Andrew Luck, he was a golden boy coming out of college, but with the team this year, he has a torn labrum, which he sustained last year towards the end of the season, but he still hasn't practiced, and we're less than 3 weeks away from the start of the regular season. Look like he'll miss the first 2 or 3 games of the new campaign for the Indianapolis Colts, and that does not spell good news at all. And also, recently, their starting center, Ryan Kelly, was injured, so he's going to be out for a while. So their offensive line has went from bad to atrocious. But coming into the National Football League before he even threw a pass, Andrew Luck, he was ordained as a Hall of Famer. This guy's going to the Hall of Fame. There's so many people saying that. But I'll tell you what, you talk about the Hall of Shame, I'm going to give the Hall of Shame to the owner, to the coach, and to the general manager, director of player personnel. To the owner, because he gave Andrew Luck all that money, but he didn't supply him with any guys that are going to block for him. For the director of player personnel, your job is to put a team together, and whoever is the prize player, you have to make sure that that prize player is taken care of, and he has not done that. And for the coach, you call the plays. You have to call plays that are designed that's not going to allow your quarterback to get hurt where he can get rid of the ball a little bit quicker. When I look at this situation in Indianapolis, for Andrew Luck, I say, I pray for you, buddy. I pray for you. But for the Indianapolis coach, I don't know what's going on there. I'm Kevin Cadle. I want to thank you for joining us. And to all my guests, fine guests, superb guys I had joining me on the show today, I want to thank them as well. And I want you to remember, if you want to get ahead, check in the SportsHead. Next time. Bye-bye. Say there, we here at SportsHead would love to make you part of our show. Now you can hit me at Kevin Cadle with a question, with a video concerning NFL, NBA, anything. We would love to hear from you. Hey, thanks for watching SportsHead. Don't forget, you can subscribe to us on YouTube, but you can also hit us on Twitter, Instagram. We would love to hear from you. We're trying to take the program from next level to next level to next level. Enjoy.